Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed podcast. We are here today to talk about our preseason so far, and there's not been much going on except for a couple of behind closed doors friendlies that we've seen in Marbella and obviously at the training ground. And we are as well joined by a very special guest who we will be chatting to in just a moment. Before we chat to him, let's see who we've got on the show. We welcome Adam back to the show. Adam, mate, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, as I say, always a struggle to think of content to talk about in pre-season. There's not much going on in terms of analysis and stuff like that. You can't really analyze a pre-season friendly. So we thought that we would talk to our old friend, Mr. Stephen Edwards, chef of the Tunnel Club and Etch. Stephen, thanks for joining us again, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Enjoying the downtime in between the end of the season and the start of next season, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly that. A good time to regroup and go again and make the Tunnel Club even better. We're going to be talking about the Albion and Sodexo Live retaining their overall match day experience award a little bit later, and of course the Tunnel Club being a huge part of that, and of course the new Terrace as well. But before we get into anything today, I just wanted to mention a fundraiser which is currently going on for club legend Peter Ward. He sustained a injury in his playing days where he scored a goal, and in process of scoring said goal he got kicked in the face, and has ever since had dental problems, which is now causing him a lot of pain. I've got a statement to read from his family that Wardy's family would like to ask that everyone approaches this with kindness and understanding. It's not an easy thing for Wardy's family to share, and whilst we always try and keep a deep sense of humour in life, especially Wardy, his situation is serious and deeply personal. We kindly ask that there be no jokes or light-hearted comments, as this journey has already come with enough pain and vulnerability. Your support means the world to Wardy's family and to a husband and father that is loved so dearly, and of course a club icon. So thank you for your compassion and respect. If you do want to support the fundraiser, please go to the link in the description. If you can't support it financially, please share it with your friends and family. He's trying to get to a $9,000 total. I think we're currently at 40% of that, so it's done really well. So if you can keep sharing that, that would be amazing. And obviously, we wish Wardy all the best going forwards. We'll stay on the subject of charity, Stephen. Buzz's charity walk. You was involved in the first day, and you told me off air that probably was the easiest day. So just tell me a little bit about how you got involved in that and what the first day looked like.
Yeah, so as soon as I found out that the foundation was doing the charity walk, I just wanted to be part of it. Obviously, I've met Buzz a couple of times, just where the restaurant is, the Tunnel Club. It's right in the heart of the action. So Buzz is always walking up and down that area, and yeah, I just wanted to support as best I could. Really, it's always obviously, like you said, with charity, not everyone can donate financially, but what is nice is I always try and give my time or donate a voucher for the restaurant just to support as much as I can and do what I need to do. Really, so yeah, I was really pleased to be part of it. I did the first day. It was a 3-day walk where they were doing about 10 to 13 miles a day. And I felt like, well, it was just by chance that I did the first day. It wasn't because it was the flattest area or the easiest leg of the course. But no, I loved it. I enjoyed it and made a few new friends as well.
Exactly that. What was the feeling like amongst the team at the start of the walk? Were they feeling a bit sort of daunted by the 35 miles ahead, or were they in quite high spirits?
Yeah, I think everyone was in high spirits. I think what like shook me up a little bit was as soon as I arrived there in the morning, and everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, are you going to be okay? Have you been doing training?" And I was just like, "Well, I hadn't really thought about it, to be honest. I just thought, it's just walking." I suppose the trolley was a bit of an obstacle, just because we filled it with like balls, training tops, Lucozade bottles and stuff, and we went around some local schools and gave them out. But to be honest, I think it went as well as it could have done, to be honest.
That's good to hear. Always good to support, obviously, the Brighton and Albion Foundation, which has been going for a very long time, 35 years, and it was the anniversary. So tell me a little bit about their involvement and, why it was such a big thing for Buzz to do such a event.
Yeah, so like you said, the 35 years, they tried to. Well, I guess that's where the 35 miles comes into it, and stopping off at Buzz's children's school as well, which was really nice, and just other local schools to kind of split up the distance on the way to the stadium. Like I said, our first leg we stopped at the training centre, and yeah. Like I said, it was just great to support the foundation in anything we do. We've done a couple of fundraisers at the Tunnel Club. We want to do more work with the foundation and all the great things that they do, kind of coming off from the football club itself. But £35,000 was what we wanted to raise, and yeah, we raised that on the final day, which was really pleasing to see.
Perfect. And I believe you can still donate to the cause, and I have included a link in the description for anybody who wants to continue to support the fantastic work that the Brighton and Albion Foundation do across all of Sussex, not just Brighton and Hove. And I think it's just such a special thing to have as a football club, and obviously the players that get involved as ambassadors as well. We saw Dunkey, Billy Gilmore came back for the walk, Fabian got involved. Jason Steele got involved, so it's just such a nice community thing to have, and such a good thing that everybody comes together to support such a huge member of the squad, even though he's in the background. Obviously Buzz doing the boot room quiz has become a little bit of a Sussex celebrity. Was there many selfie requests for Buzz, the new celebrity kit man?
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty recognisable now. Like you said, he's built that profile. We started off by going into his kit room, and the amount of shirts he's got is I mean, I do love football shirts, but he's got what look like hundreds of all signed shirts from players across the years, international and other teams as well. But yeah, I mean, it was great. We started off actually with Fatboy Slim was meant to join us on the first day, but he had a slipped disc and he had Glastonbury at the end of the week. But the first school we're at, all the mums were literally cheering on Fatboy Slim, which was quite funny.
That was great to hear, and to have a celebrity like that get involved, and yourself obviously being the master chef that you are, such a good thing for the club to get the whole community involved and not just the football club as well. So, and to celebrate everything good that comes from Brighton. Talking of things that come good from Brighton, the Albion retained the overall matchday experience award. And the Tunnel Club, of course, was a huge part of that. Joanna in our chat says that she's booked in for the Leeds match and is very excited. Hubby's 50th birthday treat. So tell us a little bit about the journey that the Tunnel Club's come on, and how you reflect on from when you started it to now, and obviously going into the future as well.
Yeah, I think obviously the first season. We finished the second season. I think the challenges that we face is that it is a membership, so you generally get the same people there week in, week out. The initial plan was almost to have it like a fancy steak and chips sort of restaurant. I guess the problem with that is that it'll be a lot of steak and chips over the course of the season, and that's where the challenge for me personally comes in, is trying to keep those guests satisfied from a food quality point of view, but also from a variation. I've got my own style of food, which is celebrating British produce, but yeah, what's really nice is I've grown to know those members over the last couple of years, and I just love their suggestions. It could just be like something simple. Like I think the last suggestion they said is they'd love an eat and mess. So I just did my version of that on the last day of the season, which was really nice. We've done things as well where we've had guest chefs attend last year. We did that for the first time. So we had Angela Hartnett, Tom Booton and Paul Wellburn, who are all like Michelin starred or Great British Menu winners, come and join us for a game. And then we've also got a really good lineup next year. And done little things as well, like almost like a chip shop dinner we did over Christmas. So like deep fried Mars bar and caramel ice cream was on the dessert for that. But it's just fun. It keeps me on my toes, and if they're happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, exactly. And winning that award, obviously, you had some high profile people last season. We spoke to you, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher coming in to try, and now you're award winning. So how does that feel to know that it's that highly esteemed?
Yeah, and that was always the plan. When you've got a facility like the Tunnel Club, where Brighton has invested so much money into it, we've got 60 guests. It's quite a small fine dining restaurant in terms of like what the Premier League, like what our competition is. If you look at something like the Diamond Club that they do at the Emirates Stadium with Arsenal, you're looking at 100 covers there with Raymond Blanc. We should be able to win these awards, and I kind of put that pressure on myself. I think the difference this year is that no one had ever won it back to back, and that just made me more determined to want to keep pushing the boundaries, keep pushing the food standard as high as possible. And now I'm looking forward to trying to complete the treble next season.
Exactly that, the food treble. I mean, you can probably already count the treble if you count your MasterChef trophy in that as well. So you've done the domestic treble. This is pushing for Europe now.
Yeah.
So we'll go with that. And something else that's been quite successful for yourself, obviously, the Terrace opened at the back end of last season, and you introduced Bites alongside Lost Boys Chicken and I believe something else, but I can't remember.
Something called Zen, which is almost like Asian-inspired street food, which is quite nice as well.
Yeah, so how has that been working alongside those, and obviously the events at the Terrace after the games? How has that all been juggling that with obviously the Tunnel Club and Etch in Hove?
Yeah, I think it's always a challenge for any chef or businessman to kind of do multiple outlets of my style of food. But that's always what I've wanted to do. I think it's really important, like more so now with things like the cost of living crisis, and managing food businesses as a whole isn't easy. But I think to diversify what we do is really important, just to protect all of those businesses. What I love about Bites is it's fun, and also like my kids actually like, it's the first type of food I've done and my kids enjoy it. I've taken them to Etch before, and they're just like, we do this we did this take on dippy egg and soldiers, and they got really buzzed for it and really hyped, and then they had it and they were like, it's got vegetables on it, it's not like Nana's dippy egg and soldiers. And I was like, oh my god, what's going on? But yeah, Bites, it's just that accessibility, I think, which is really important. It's still a premium burger, I get that, but I'm really proud of like the KFO, which is completely vegan as well. And then over this summer, I've been working on a few like specials as well that we're going to release throughout the course of next season. So launching the Terrace and BITES, I think it was like at the back end of March, maybe beginning of April. Kind of seems a bit of a weird time to do that, but I think what's really nice about that is that we can hit the end of the season, have a few games, get some feedback, regroup, and then go again stronger next season. Because as we said off air, like, this time we've got in between the end of the season and the start of next is really important. We try and make as many changes as possible in that time, because when we're into the season, it's difficult to make big changes.
Yeah, exactly that. So obviously Stephen's putting his team through their pre-season paces at the moment, and obviously the team have come back in the last sort of 20 days. Adam, and they've had a couple of games now so far that they've won everything. They're building their confidence and energy. How have you seen the beginning of pre-season, and who sort of stood out for you?
It's been really positive. I think, there's lots of players getting good game time. Nice to see some players coming back from injury, the likes of Milner, etc., who we didn't really have around much last season. It's nice to see him back involved with the squad. Obviously, the loan players as well. Buonanotte is impressed in the pre-season so far. Got himself a goal or two. Has looked lively. Danny Welbeck's banged in a few goals in that first friendly. Got 4 in the first half, didn't he? So there's some really good sort of players there. I think some of the loan players as well, like Yao Kuye and stuff, have impressed. Coppola's looked good since he's arrived. But I think I think obviously we're still yet to see some of the signings yet, but it'll be it's looking very positive. I think there's plenty of competition within the squad and a lot of hope going into the season so far.
Yeah, exactly that. And what I've been impressed with so far is just the sheer amount of energy that seems to be coming from the players and the positive attitude. And I don't know how he does it, Stephen, but what's Hertzler feeding them? Are you involved in sending them food? Stephen Edwards powered food?
No, but that's something that so I don't know if you know, but the chef for Brighton and Hove, the players, he actually left to go to Man United at the end of last season. So I don't know who they've got to replace him, but it's something that actually really I'm actually really curious about. That style of cooking where it's very clean, low in fat, high in carbohydrates. And it's almost making me want to do a nutritionist course just to see what they go through, because it's such a big part of football. Maybe when I started watching or supporting football 30 years ago, players were still smoking and drinking, and there wasn't that emphasis. I think it was Wenger that kind of came in and started this complete package of player welfare and how they eat, how they sleep, the routine before and after matches is so important. And it's something I'm completely fascinated in, but I have no qualifications whatsoever to be cooking for those players.
Exactly. Yeah, I can imagine it's a whole different ball game. If you'll pardon the pun, the terrible pun, Joe, that is awful. Let's have a look and see who's in the chat, because of course we are live today. Doom is saying, is Minter injured? I did hear that he did take a bit of a whack at the end. I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. Mark Pozzi saying, hi everyone, hello to you. Joanna, of course, has said that she's coming to the Tunnel Club, Stephen, so be prepared. She's a long-time listener and subscriber of the Albion Obsessed podcast. So
you're ramping up the pressure.
Yeah, extra tasty things for Joanna. Evening to Michael. Rod is saying he's been very impressed by Yalkuye and hope he gets minutes in the Premier League. Of course, he's been spoken about for maybe another loan move away. I personally think that he should get some minutes in the Premier League for sure. Michael saying is that he feels like Yalkuye is a Belieber clone. Yeah, the club seem to do that like you wouldn't believe. And Vicky is saying, loving the dancing cactus in the background, Joe. Well, yes. So what my wife likes to do is she likes to leave little hidden gems in the background for Vicky specifically to try and find and figure out what she's done. So there you go. Joanna's requesting extra Marmite bread, please, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm sure we can arrange that.
There you go. Let's talk then about, obviously, today, a few more people involved than maybe we thought for. I think that there was a report that said Minte and Jorginho Rutter had a slight problem, but they still featured in the second half. Adam, and obviously first minutes for Maxim de Kuyper as a Brighton player as well. So it's important for those players to come in and get that confidence and that touch of the ball, isn't it? First of all.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, as I said earlier, we've got such a big squad now, so it's pre-season's really about trying to impress for a lot of these players, because they're competing for. There's probably 6 or 7 players competing for some positions. We talk about Yalkuye, but there's sort of 6 or 7 other centre midfielders there. Ayari got on the score sheet today and has looked very promising towards the end of last season. Belieber's obviously there and is going to be commanding one of those starting spots when he's fit. You've still got the likes of Hinchwood and people like that to work into that midfield, But I think ultimately it was really good to get some minutes on the pitch for some of the players. Nice to see Matt O'Reilly get amongst the goals as well. I know hasn't really featured much so far, so that's nice for him. And Kyle Rushworth made a couple of good saves in the second half as well, so that was good for him. But I don't know if he'll hang around. It seems a bit. I know Coventry was being rumoured, so there's sort of a lot of rumours going around with some of these players. So it'll be interesting to see who's still here come a couple of weeks' time at the start of the season, really.
Yeah, exactly that. And another midfielder that you mentioned before we went live, Stephen, Yasin Ayari, who had a brilliant end to the season. How impressed have you been with him? Obviously getting a goal today and sort of building on that confidence that he built last season.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure how he was going to fit into the team at the beginning of the season. He wasn't wasn't striking me as a player that was standing out, but I love being proved wrong, especially with Brighton players, and like seeing how well he's done since the turn of the year. He's just getting better and better at quite an impressive rate. I mean, I personally think it's quite nice that this transfer window seems a little bit quiet compared to, the last two seasons. Yeah, touch wood. The last two seasons, it seems like quite volatile. And whether it's a lot of players leaving 2 seasons ago and then a lot of players arriving last season, I think this is how Brighton want to operate. A few signings in. We have got an overinflated squad, and there's going to be a lot of loans out. But I think hopefully now we're going to see Hertzler's style coming into play. And I mean, I was just interested because I haven't been able to see any of the friendlies, is whether he's going to change his formation up. Because I know he did favour like the 3-4-3 at St. Pauli. I don't know whether he's going to go to that or he's going to stick to the 4-2-3-1 that he kind of favoured last season. But I think you mentioned it as well, Joe. There's a lot of energy. He likes energy, and I think that's the way football is going. And I'd rather players were doing everything for the badge than maybe. Rather than having more high-profile players, I think it's more about the energetic players that we've got that will give everything.
Yeah, exactly that. Obviously, the high-profile player that we've seen go out the door, João Pedro, was obviously suspended by the club at the end of last season. Some saying that it could have been his want to win that made him do that to Jan-Paul van Hecke. But I think there's a line, isn't there, of competitiveness, and you eventually you have to pull together as a team, and if you're not doing that, then you're out the door. And you've mentioned the transfer window so far, Stephen, that there doesn't seem to be many more talks of high-profile departures. Adam, I think Fabian Hertzler said that he's been having a lot of conversations in the last week with Tony Bloom. It's important, isn't it, for a manager and the owners to be on the same board in terms of what they want their squad to look like come the end of the transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen that over the years, haven't we, with Tony Bloom? He's constantly, backing the manager, trying to get in as many players as possible. Obviously, we've seen some high-profile departures over the windows, but luckily, as you say, touch wood, we haven't, apart from Pedro, we haven't seen many. I know Estepinian's one that's being linked, but I think now we've got De Kuyper and stuff, and Kadioglu coming back from injury. We've got quite a bit of cover there, so it's I guess. I don't know if that's considered as high profile as Pedro. I think, we spoke about last time Mitoma staying is a massive boost, because I just think he's the one that's irreplaceable. If you get rid of him, there's not many players around the world that you're going to be able to replace him with, and they'd come at a massive cost if you did. So I think, he's got some really, really good players within the squad now, a lot of young talent mixed with experience. So I think he's got a right balance, and we talk about that energy. So yeah, it's looking really positive. So fingers crossed we don't lose sort of anybody. I think the only one we know about is Ferguson, really, but I think that's kind of expected. Again, go out, get some game time, hopefully, start scoring some goals, get his confidence back, and hopefully, potentially maybe even return next season and compete for that striker's role. Because Welbeck's not getting any younger, unfortunately. So obviously, at some point, he's going to need to be replaced up there. So it's all about that succession planning that they're so good at.
Yeah, exactly that. And Stephen, what have you made of the Evan Ferguson situation? Obviously, burst onto the scene a couple of years ago, was playing really well, and then has had sort of an 18-month goal drought with maybe the odd goal here and there, but just not getting that confidence. I, for one, I'm slightly gutted that he's not being given a chance this pre-season to see if he can prove that he is ready for a Premier League season. But are you on the same page as Adam of get him out on loan and see if he can come back to us a better player?
Yeah, I think he's a huge asset to the club. I've always thought there's more to it. Is he not the right player for Hertzler? Because he hasn't really been given that chance. And you are right, like for his age, he's a hugely talented striker. But I think it's definitely right to put him out on loan and try and get his confidence back up. Because as we know, for young strikers, if you look at someone like Højlund at Man United, they're similar in terms of age and probably potential, but if you keep putting them in the spotlight and they're not scoring, it only gets worse, doesn't it? And I was kind of hopeful that he was going to do well at West Ham, but I think he picked up another injury, and it's kind of back to square one for him. But I think is he going to Roma? Is that being confirmed?
Yeah, he arrived in Roma yesterday, and there was a really lovely video actually that circulated social media of him being welcomed by the Roma fans, and Evan had a big smile on his face, and so I hope that obviously the manager there, I can't remember what his name is, Gasparini or something like that, can get the best out of him, who seems to get the best out of young strikers in the past. He's had quite a good track record there, so as you say, it's somewhere out of the spotlight, that he can just find his feet again, get that touch for scoring goals, and hopefully come back to us. I think there is an option for Roma to buy at the end of it, not an obligation though, which I find slightly comforting, but also a little bit worried that Roma will fork up £40 million for him at the end of the season, and obviously if he's had a good season, then we would want him back, but Roma would want him. So it's a little bit of a weird situation where we might be on the back foot a little bit in terms of that deal, but we'll see where we go. Looking at the chat again, Joanna is saying O'Reilly looks great, and Yalkuye has had 2 good games now, high energy and high press. Absolutely agree with that. Posy saying all things gone quiet with Matoma. Yeah, I mean, there seemed to have been that Talk Sport exclusive that they said he's sort of pledged his future to us, sort of backed up that Sky thing. But I think Andy Naylor said that the sources close to the player said that wasn't true. But it's all conflicting. But the important thing is that it's gone quiet. So we can sort of, just relax and think of Matoma as a Brighton player next season. Posy saying, what's happened with Solly? Is he injured? Haven't seen him lately. Unsure, I'm afraid on that one. And Rodder says, with Ferguson gone, what happens if Welbeck gets injured? Adam, what happens if Welbeck gets injured?
Well, I mean, we saw last season he went to the false 9, didn't he? I think Gruder had a bit of time there. We know Ruta can play in that position and can do a job. You've obviously got the 2 young Greek strikers there. How much exposure we'll give them is yet to be seen. Obviously, we haven't really seen them so far this pre-season, so hopefully we'll get a glimpse of them at some point. But I think he's got plenty of options there. I think O'Reilly could probably even play as a false 9 if he really wanted to. So I wonder if he might favour that option, because I guess with Pedro gone, Welbeck is your only out-and-out striker, really. So it's, if something does happen to him, hopefully it doesn't, because I mean, I know, sort of last season, the season before, he's been pretty injury-free and been able to string together lots of starts and goals, which is good. But, at some point we will need to replace him. And, if he does get injured, I guess that's maybe an option that we've seen him go for last season.
Exactly that. So I think we can be sort of relaxed in the fact that we do have some options that can play there if it came to it. So I don't think we should panic if Welbeck gets injured. Hopefully everything will be fine this season in terms of injuries, because Stephen, last year it was a little bit of a shitstorm with injuries, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I think it just needs that stability, and that's what I'm hoping that this season will be. Like I said, the last 2 years have been quite volatile. Hopefully now it's a bit more settled. We can get some consistency, which we showed in periods last season. It was just the consistency was either consistently good and then consistently bad. Whereas it'd just be nice to have like a good stretch over a longer period of time. I do agree, though. I think we are weak in the striker area. I do worry about young strikers, like I said, being the backup option. So potentially there could be like a deal there, maybe towards the end of the transfer windows, for maybe like a more experienced striker. I don't know. Don't want to say someone like Vardy, but like someone like that can come off the bench. Because Welbeck, I've been so impressed with him, considering his age and like how many games he's been able to play and his scoring ability as well. But I do think we need to take the pressure off of him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think Kosulas coming in as well. Obviously, I know he's very young, but and like you say, with pressure, you don't want to pile too much pressure on him too early. But hopefully he can come in as the understudy to Danny Welbeck, and then learn as and when he's called upon, really, and not have that pressure that he's got to perform week in, week out, 38 games a season. So it'll certainly be interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks, leading up to obviously the Southampton game and the Wolfsburg game at the Amex. So it's going to be a very exciting time. As I say, there's not much to talk about during pre-season, so I think we've pretty much covered everything Albion. So I have prepared a little game for Adam and Stephen to play. And it's a little bit of a penalty shootout, really, in terms of their... hopefully better penalties than what England took the other day. So we've got 5 rounds. I haven't prepared any sudden death questions, which I probably should have done, but I'm sure I can think of some on the spot if it's needed. So this is called Albion Albion Fact or Fiction. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is read a fact or a fiction, and you have to tell me whether you think it's a fact or fiction. So first of all, let's start with Stephen. Here's your first fact. Fabian Hertzler won more games in his debut season than Chris Hughton won altogether whilst in the Premier League with Brighton. Fact or fiction?
I would have said fiction, but the fact that you've asked the question... No, I'm going to stick with my gut, fiction.
You are correct, and you've scored your first penalty. There you go. That is indeed fiction. Fabian won 16 games. Hughton won 18 games.
Only 18 games?
Only 18 games. So, yeah, it's no shock to see that he did eventually move on. Adam, your fact. Mitoma scored the opening goal of the Albion's 24-25 Premier League campaign. Fiction or fact?
Oh, God. That is a great question. I want to say fiction, but I think I'm going to be wrong.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, go for it. Go on.
You have missed your penalty.
Yeah, I thought I might have.
That is indeed a fact. He scored the first goal against Everton last season.
Wow.
It's such a long time ago, isn't it?
Yeah, that is a long time ago.
You've got the opportunity here, Stephen, to go 2-0 up and pile the pressure on Adam. No, that's the wrong one. Brighton have never ended a Premier League game week at the top of the league. Fact or fiction?
That's fiction. I'm sure they've been top of the table before. Last season.
Is fiction. You have scored. So it's 2-0, Adam. You need to score this one to not stay in it, but
Can I have one like Stevens, please?
He keeps bumping around with the questions, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I know, this is going to be...
I thought he was going to give me a minute to think about mine a minute ago.
Okay, so Brighton, so this is your fact or fiction. Brighton scored more goals than Newcastle last season.
Fiction.
It is indeed fiction. You have scored. Brighton scored 66. Newcastle scored 68. So not much in it, to be fair. Stephen, your next statement is that Albion haven't been in the Premier League relegation zone since August 2017.
Fiction. I feel like
you think we've been in there since?
I think Chris Heaton. I'm sure we're buzzing around that. Was that long ago? No. I'm going with my first answer. Fiction.
You have missed your first penalty, and that is fact. We have not been, even in Hughton's second season, we never dropped into the relegation zone.
We're just above.
just above it. I think.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
Flirting dangerously with it most of the season, I think. 1 point.
Adam, your next statement is Brighton have never won at Turf Moor in the Premier League.
Ooh. I want to say that's a fact.
That is fiction.
Oh,
Unfortunately, you've hit the post. We've beaten them twice, and both score lines were 2-1. There was one at the end of the COVID season, and there was one a couple of years ago as well. Stephen, I think this one is to win it, but we will do all 5 for everyone, just for the fun of it. Brighton have beaten every possible Premier League opponent since their promotion in 2017.
Fact.
That is fiction. Adam, you're still alive here, mate. I don't know how.
I don't know how I'm doing it.
But that is fiction. Brighton have never beaten Stoke or Cardiff in the Premier League.
Wow.
They
Well, that's
they
what I
lost twice to Cardiff, drew twice to Stoke. And I think that was the first and second season we were in the Premier League. So, Adam, you've got the chance to tie this one up, mate. Here's your statement. Brighton have taken 24 points from Manchester United since their promotion to the Premier League in 2017.
Fact.
That is a fact.
That's impressive.
That's the questions I'm looking for.
They are also the team that we've beaten most since being in the Premier League. So we've beaten them 8 times, which is pretty mad. We've never drawn to Manchester United in the Premier League. It's always been a loss or a win. Okay, so this is probably going to go to sudden death, and I'm going to look like an absolute mug for not doing any sudden death questions. I have got some because I prepared to have Kurtis on as well, so I've got some for him. Okay, Stephen. Greek wonder kid Charalampos Kostoulas is Brighton's record Premier League signing. Fact
Fiction. Fiction.
That is fiction. It's Jorginho Rutter. Pressure's on, Adam. You need to score this one to stay alive, mate.
All right.
Okay, so Brighton have won 100 Premier League matches.
Blimey. 100 Premier League matches. Fiction.
Here's fiction. It's 3-3. They've only won 94 Premier League matches. So we are going to sudden death, and luckily I've got some questions that I did for Kurtis, but he's not here, so I'll ask those to you guys. Okay, so Stephen. Lewis Dunk has more yellow cards than Welbeck has Premier League goals for Brighton.
Fiction.
That is fiction. Dunkey has 44 yellow cards.
Really?
Welbeck 33 goals for the Albion in the Premier League. Pretty mad. Okay, Adam. Brighton conceded more goals than Brentford last season.
I want to say fact.
That is indeed fact. Brighton scored 59. Brentford scored 57. Now I am starting to run out of questions. Okay. Stephen, according to website 11v11, Brighton have won more games in their history than they have lost.
Fact.
That is a fact. You've scored. And Brighton have won 1,916 and lost 1,700, basically. Okay, Adam. Joel Veltman has more Premier League appearances than Danny Welbeck. Sorry, more Brighton Premier League appearances.
Oh, from Brighton. I was going to say, I had my answer then, and now you thrown me. No, I think. I'm going to go fiction. But I'm not 100% sure. I think it might be a fact. No.
Have you taken your penalty?
Yeah, I've taken my penalty, and I think I've probably missed now. Now thinking about it.
You have missed, and Stephen Edwards is the Albion Fact or Fiction champion. Joel Veltman has 2 more appearances for Brighton in the Premier League than Danny Welbeck. So there you go. Stephen Edwards, another trophy coming your way.
They were really good questions, I thought, Joe.
Thank you. I prepared them at 5 o'clock today because I thought I was doing the brief for the podcast, and I looked at it and said to myself, that's probably about 20 minutes worth of conversation, and I need to do something else. So there you go. That was Albion Fact or Fiction. Maybe by popular demand, we might bring it back in a few weeks' time or at the end of the season if you enjoyed it.
I'd like the chance to redeem myself, please. At some point in the season.
Edwards on again, just so you can face off in a fact or fiction penalty shootout. And I will prepare a lot more questions because we were literally 1 question away from me not having any more questions. And that would have been an absolute disaster. Stephen, how can people book in for the Tunnel Club, and how can people find your wonderful work in Etch and obviously at the Terrace?
So Etch is easy. Just go etchfood.co.uk or follow us on socials, etchfood. The Tunnel Club's a little bit harder because it is a subscription, but I think it's renewing because we're going into our 3rd season, so there is a renewal package. So if you are interested, then get in contact with the club. And then the easiest one is Bites. So come and visit us at the Terrace, home, and more importantly, away games. We show all the away games there, which is great fun. So come and check us out.
Exactly that. And as I said, you can still donate to the Brighton and Hove Albion Foundation. The link is in the description for anyone who wants to either share the link if you can't do anything financially, or if you want to donate anything as little as £1, you can do so over on that link. Also, be sure to check out the Keep Wardy Smiling fundraiser as well, so we can get him the support that he absolutely deserves as an Albion icon, and ensure that he's not in pain anymore, because that's not a nice thing to live with. But other than that, I think we've come to the end of a little bit of a shorter show. Obviously, being pre-season, we're getting warmed up ourselves. I've been a little bit rusty on the old podcasting, and I have very much sort of overdone my course for today. I've done my bleep test. I can go to sleep happy. And Adam, you've done all right as well, mate. Thank you very much.
I'm going to be regretting that Matoma question now for the rest of for the
rest of your life.
Yeah, probably for the rest of my life. Yes.
So other than that, obviously, we will be back with you as and when anything else happens in the Albion world. Obviously, we're very quickly approaching. Yes, Mark, I do owe you a beer. I can't remember what I owe you a beer for now. You have to message me. Can't remember. But we are fast approaching the Premier League season. We kick off against Fulham on the 16th of August. Yeah, 16th of August. So we'll be coming at you with weekly podcasts, thick and fast. So wherever you may be, whenever you may be, we will see you next time. Cheers.